This is random journaling on my gradual progress on my Undead Doctor Strange cosplay costume. So, my reference up. I've got plenty of materials here. That's not a mess, it's thinking piles. I have those and those ready for one part of the project, that for another part. That stuff goes with those. Stuffing for the Guardian's hands. And I'll call them Guardians because they don't act like souls of the damned, they act like Guardians of the Darkhold. Little chaos demons. Let's see. So, I had a mix of good luck and disappointments. I'm treating this stuff as though I can possibly iron it on, though it's not as good as actual iron-ons. Well, that's been a disappointment. It doesn't get hot enough to cut my cloak material and cauterize it as I needed it done. Anyway, these are just random notes. Maybe I'll make something better. Alright, let me set up the camera. Alright, something to watch out for. It was a potentially something I discovered that was a potential disaster. These had fold lines in it, so I wanted to get rid of the fold lines as I was preparing for making that symbol on the chest. So I ran it through some warm water, and what happened when I did was all of the cheap dye that this was dyed with began leaching out. I had red dye in the sink and all over my hands. So I used soap and warm water. Still more was coming out. So I rinsed it again, just water. Then I added some leftover apple cider vinegar I had with the water, let it soak a little bit, wrung it out again. And thought to be safe, or to be certain, I took the shirt I got from the same Hobby Lobby, watered that down to see if any dye would come out. Fortunately, none did. This dye is set in pretty well. This? No. So I washed them out, rinsed them a final time, ran them through the laundry dryer. Anyway, the other part I've been working on is using the duct tape to make the patterns on the Doctor Strange, or Defender Doctor Strange outfit, which is the same as Undead Doctor Strange is wearing later, because it's Dead Defender. Now Undead Doctor Strange. So, I have this set on low heat, but notice that it was starting to cause a little damage and sticking a little bit to the tape. Now something I was reflecting on and keeping in mind, which is why I didn't want to use high heat, is that if you ever put duct tape on anything and had it outside in hot weather, the adhesive loses its integrity. It stays very sticky, but it doesn't hold to the base layer of tape very well. So my thought was, I need that adhesive layer to soak into the cloth and not cause me that trouble later to not potentially cause me the trouble of it not being adhered all that well to the cloth, and then having that gumminess, falling apart, sticky feeling on the tape, like I've had on other things that I've used duct tape on. Anyway, hearing that even on low heat was causing a tiny little spots to the coloration on the tape would start peeling off, tiny little bits, and the tape can also melt, so I had to be careful with that as well. So then I started using this as thin as it is. To apply this to keep it from sticking to the iron, and I would check it occasionally for heat level. And the amount of heat that is just right for getting that adhesive on the tape to soak in is where it's, well, hot enough to the touch to where it doesn't hurt, but you feel like it's really uncomfortable. So you apply it a couple of times, get that heat level, take it off again. Now, another disappointment was that just above the duct tape was a narrow one. Which I didn't read carefully enough, because what I saw on there was duck, which I thought they were just, for copyright's sake, making a new name for another type of duct, D-U-C-T tape. I didn't see that it was masking tape, which is no good for this. It tears very easily. So this is just going to be scrap tape that I use for marking places that I've measured. Now, some other advice I have is that when you're making a costume for the first time, there's going to be mistakes, which is why you want to not use your best materials. Don't use your very best materials. For example, this tape. If I had tried some kind of paint or liquid rubber, I do make mistakes, and when I get around to making a mistake, that's going to be permanently in the cloth. That'd be something I cannot fix. But this, I get all my measurements down, see how it looks, see how long it lasts. If it fails, then I have the outlines made, the measurements set to use a higher grade material when I find it to fill that in. Now, for those of you who don't know, on my first Doctor Strange outfit, I did all of that. I had very basic materials, and when I found better stuff, piece by piece, I upgraded it. I improved it. That's why I tell people that it's good to specialize in a costume. That way you get it to be its best, get much closer to winning contests, winning followers and friends. I'm using a cutting board turned upside down to cut the tape on. Use the hot knife, some ironing. Let's see, other discovery. I found that the hardware store's pipe insulation was super light, and I can cut and form arms out of that. Let me show you what I'm talking about. For making these guys, which after I make a few are going to be put onto the cloak. Guess what? Soda bottle. I made cuts down the side and stapled it. So now it's shaped a lot more like its body, and it's very lightweight. I don't have a sample here yet. I think I took some earlier pictures of an experiment of taking latex gloves, tying the fingers down, turning the glove inside out, blowing it up, and it gave me a rough outline which is closer to the shape of its head. So I'm going to have to experiment with that, or scrap pieces that I trim off of the pipe installation, or from leftover scraps of foam rubber. Then I spray it down with Plastidip, which is a rubber spray coating, to make the hands and the head, those for the arms, body. And for the hands, I am using the white foam rubber, which are scraps I trimmed off of these. And these are to be the wounds on the leg and chest. After some brainstorming, I finally figured out what to do for what should be a break through the ribs in the chest cavity. Sticks. So I'm going to trim that down about the size and shape of a few rib pieces, break them in the middle, put them around the wound, and apply latex over it to finish it off. I used colored Plastidip again. I first tried gray, but it was much too dark, so then I went over it with a little bit of white and then some red spray paint. It turned out pretty nicely. I still got to put a layer of latex over it. Actually, to keep that color, I wonder if maybe I should use this. But then again, that is more skin color. I'll be using a pair of pants that I bought that are just a couple of inches too short. I'll be wearing boots, so that'll make up for the difference. I'm going to actually put holes in the pants and attach those inside. Let's see if I can find that picture quickly enough. Here we go. Note where the wound is and how it's made and how big it is. I'm taking that into consideration. And that. Progress report. Now, something to make it easier in measuring is that it's good that you don't have it exact, because after all, this is somebody's copyright. The person who designed it owns it and owns the rights to it. Now, even if you have something that's a look-alike, you still could be held accountable for a violation of having a look-alike. So my first advice is don't let it be exact. Then again, when your measuring is not perfect, like mine isn't, when your measuring isn't perfect, like mine isn't, then you can put your own twist on it to fill in the areas where your measurement wasn't an exact replica, respectively so. Put your own twist on it, be a variant. It's a multiverse after all. So I tested a couple of pieces that I had to readjust a couple of portions of tape. Even though I used heat to apply them, ironing them in, I still was able to pull them up, and there was no tape residue left behind, just a slight trace of where it looked darker and cleaner where I pulled up the tape. So I applied the heat again. It actually sticks better with the applied heat from an iron than without. So after I put the main pattern into the middle, I used the leftover cloth to fill that in with my own design, my own variation of that. Anyway, as you see, it's not an exact match, but it still looks good. That's the important thing. All right. Not bad. Not bad at all. It's a good thing I just tried it on, because I was about to make the hole in the cloth for the wound, and I had it in the wrong place for the back. I had it down there. It really needs to be higher up.